Hello and welcome to another episode of Feeding Fatty. This is Roy.
This is Terry.
So we're a podcast that journaling or chronicling our journey through wellness. And, we've begun to figure out at first we talked a lot about diet, not being on a diet, but just, what we eat, consume, exercise. But we've we've also kind of shifted into that mindset realm that we have to, be able to change our mindset to make sustainable changes. And so on Tuesdays, we usually release an episode with a guest, either a professional in the industry or somebody telling us their story. And then on Thursdays, we release more of a personal episode. And we've been talking a lot about diabetes. That's one thing I struggle with, keeping mine under control. So anyway, I want to thank you for being a listener. And if you're new, welcome to the show. And we got a great guest today. This has been exciting. We've been waiting a couple of weeks to get Bob on here. So Terry, I'll let you introduce Bob.
Bob is a 23-year-old ultra runner and professional drummer from West Wales. He's been playing drums since the age of 7 and performing full-time at 17 all over the UK. He started his fitness journey in early 2018 when he ran his first marathon and progressed to an Ironman in 2019. After the lockdown hit in 2020, he saw it as an opportunity to push his limits further and is training to take on 100 miles while towing his drum kit behind him. Bob, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and you're quite the contrast, because typically, we think of musicians and drummers. They live kind of an alternate lifestyle up all night, and then probably I would say not the best. They're surrounded by probably a lot of liquor, a lot of good food, and
a lot of.
yeah. So it's like it's an interesting concept. So kind of tell us a little bit about what kind of music that you play first, how you got into music, into the band, and then kind of tell us a little bit of, about your focus on fitness.
Yeah, it's funny you say about that. That's a lot of the reason why I ended up getting into fitness, is because I was like out most nights playing gigs and then having to drive horrendous miles and just eating the worst fast food all the time. Yeah. And that's where the fitness really came from. But yeah, so I started from a really young age playing, and I learned through school basically. Okay. And I used to get a 15-minute lesson once a week, and they'd sort of give me a book and say, right, go on, go practice, come back. And yeah, that progressed up, and then just decided it was sort of what I wanted to do. So I went to basically when I was 16, I left school. And did a little bit of work helping out my parents, and sort of thought, right, okay, well, let's try and make something of music. And there's like the local city to me is Cardiff, which is about 2 hours away. And I sort of just went up there and was like, right, let's try and meet some musicians. So I sort of put my head around, went to some venues and sort of tried to be friendly with some guitarists and bass players and things, and eventually just sort of got in a couple of bands and started playing, and then yeah, just kept progressing, which was good fun, and it got very good to the point of playing multiple nights a week, also doing lots of teaching. You can see behind me that there's kits set up. There should be one there, but I had a gig last night, so that one's gone. It's sat in my car at the moment. So yeah, it was great, and then just lots of gigs all over the place, and learned to read music. So I play for sort of like theatre shows and things. Yeah. So I can get booked for sort of like 4 to 6 weeks on a like small theatre tour around the UK, where we do sort of like 3 to 5 days in a venue, just multiple shows. But again, it's always very intense in a very short amount of time. So usually like my Monday to Thursday is usually fairly quiet. But then it's sort of like Thursday night, it's like, right, okay, well, let's pack up the gear and get ready to go. And then Friday I'm off, and it's Friday night gig, Saturday 2 gigs, Sunday 2 gigs, and then home.
Wow, that makes me tired. Yeah. Well, and as a drummer, you don't have a choice. You have to be fit if you want to be successful as a drummer. So I'm sure that
just to get your drum kit from the car to the venue.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, when we go to concerts a lot, like more smaller venues, especially outdoors and stuff, it's like You know, you see the guitar guy, he puts his guitar in his case, and you know, he walks away, and the bass says the same thing. Then, you know, there's this poor drummer back there. He's got this whole big old drum kit. You know, he's trying to move on and off by himself.
I know. I'm always thinking the same thing. Imagine if I played the flute. How easy would that?
Exactly.
You wanted the heavy stuff. You asked for it, you got it.
So tell us about this challenge where you're gonna is it 100 kilometers and you're gonna tow your drum kit behind you?
No, so it's 100 miles.
100 miles. Okay.
So I think that's about 180 kilometers.
Okay.
That's a best guess.
Okay.
But yeah, so it all was a bit of a weird joke at the start, and because I live right on the west coast of Wales, and it's very rural. I live in a place called Pembrokeshire, and there's more cows than people down here. So for me to go, like, all my work, I have to basically go to the closest place I can do it is a city called Swansea, which is about sort of an hour and a half drive away, but more of it is done in Cardiff, which is about 2 hours just over. So I spend a lot of my time driving, but Cardiff is basically exactly 100 miles from my house. So that's where the majority of my gigs are. So when we hit lockdown, obviously at the start, everyone thought it was going to be like 2-3 weeks. And I'd done quite a bit of training then, because about 3 or 4 months before that, I'd done my first Ironman. So I was relatively fit by this point. And I said to my mate, who's also a drummer, I said, I think I might train loads of running, really focus, and then when gigs come back, I'll get someone. I was thinking, like, I'll get my parents to take my drum kit to the gig or something, and I'll run, and then I'll do the gig, and it's about 100 miles. It'd be an ultramarathon, so it'd be great. And he sat there and listened to me say all that, and he just went, yeah, but it doesn't really count unless you tow the drum kit.
Oh.
And my stupid brain went, that's a brilliant idea.
Oh my God. Yeah. He's off the Christmas list now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. He's a good friend, but also a bad friend.
So you're actually going to be you're actually going to be towing it yourself, your body.
Yeah. So I am the horse to the cart.
Oh my God.
Which, yeah, it's all been a bit mad. So it was kind of, it was great, and it was like, oh yeah, no, I could actually do that. Like, that would be, it'd be mental. So the first thing I do is start Googling, like, has anyone done something like this? And there's been a few people who've like pulled cars for marathons and things like that. That looks pretty brutal. And I was like, okay, well, no one's really done this, so why don't I do it? And then the extra condition is that the challenge doesn't finish when I end the run, because I have also hired my band to come to the end of the run and play a gig with me. So I run 100 mile with the drum kit, then set it up, then play an hour's gig with them, and then set it down, and then I don't know. I'll probably just be face down in the grass.
Sleep for at least 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, I hope so.
Are you going to push through and do like the 100 all at the same time? Or are you going to like take a couple breaks in between?
Yes, the plan is to do it pretty much all as one. So I'm allowing myself 48 hours to do it.
Wow.
And that's going to involve, I've got a crew of 5 guys coming along to help me, and they're going to have a couple of cars and be leapfrogging. And there's a couple of spots where they have to sit behind me with their hazards on, because some of the roads are quite quick. So the idea is I start at 8 p.m. on Thursday, the 22nd of July, and the idea is to go all the way through that night, and then when I get to the morning, I'll probably have a bit of a break for breakfast. But when I say a break, I mean less than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Ideally, if we can keep all the breaks under 20 minutes, that would be great. Yeah. We're pretty much just going to like plot all the laybys on the way, and I'll just keep stopping. And then there'll be other things I need to do, like I need to change shoes at some point because my feet will swell. Probably change clothes. I imagine I'll need a change of clothes for night running than I will day running, because of the heat difference, because we're in summer here, and not that Wales is the hottest country in the world, but it can get slightly warm, and when I say slightly, I mean not very, but enough. So yeah, I'll probably have to get changed and things like that. And then I've talked to a few people who've done like really silly challenges like this before. Like a friend of mine, she did 200 miles recently, and it took her about 51 hours. And she said on day 2 she had to stop and she slept for 15 minutes, and then carried on.
Yes.
So I look forward to my 15-minute nap on day 2.
Right.
Well, and how do you even start to figure out how to train for that? I mean, what's your typical day as far as your training goes?
That's a weird one, because it started off with just increasing the miles running, which came to a point where I was running sort of like 8 or 9 hours a day, and then it just trying to get as many miles in as possible. And then it got to the point where I got the trailer, and that was weird, because the difficult thing with trailers is it's very hilly around here. So one, it's heavy, and getting it up a hill is awful. But then the other problem is getting it down the hill.
Oh my God, without being killed.
It wants to kill me. And it's quite scary, because when I first did it, I was like, yeah, well, I got a friend to help out, and he put a brake on it, and I was like, yeah, that's a really good idea. So we got this brake that was on a rope, and the idea was like, I wrap the rope around my hand, pull the brake, should be absolutely fine. What we didn't take into account is actually when I get to a steep hill, I have to really pull the brake. Yeah. I took the first hill that I went down, I got to the end of it, and I looked at my hand, and it was like completely blue. As I cut off circulation with the rope. I had like a rope burn all across my hand. I was like, oh, that didn't work. That was one hill. Yeah, so I ran, because I'm on my last like training block now, which is weird, which basically involves me every other day running as many miles as I can with the trailer. So I did a marathon with it on Wednesday, just gone, and that took about 8 hours to do, which was fun. And it's just lots of hills, and I'm training with like twice the amount of hill. So I cover 80 feet of climbing per mile on my training runs, but when I do the actual run, I only cover 50 feet of climbing per mile.
Oh, okay.
So I'm training a little bit harder than what it will actually be, but I'm not training the same distance, because I just won't recover. That's the thing I found hardest, is trying to get enough training in, but also recover afterwards, and nutrition and things like that. It's really hard, because I track calories. And it's funny, because some days I need to track calories to make sure I don't eat too much, but then other days I have to track calories to make sure I eat enough. Because I think on Wednesday I burnt an extra like 7,000 calories or something silly like that. It's like well, I don't know how to eat that much.
How many calories do you need? How many calories are you trying to strive for?
So it's really weird. So when I'm moving, I can basically take on about 160 calories an hour without feeling unwell, because it's quite a common thing. Because when you run, your body sends more blood to your muscles and your extremities, and it takes it away from some of your internal organs. So your digestive system doesn't work as efficiently. So if you take on too many calories, you can end up being sick, which is a bit of a problem. And it's not nice being sick when you're running. I have accidentally done it a couple of times. So I have to limit the amount. But then afterwards, I've sort of got this calorie deficit of like a few thousand calories. And I'm like, well, I could eat 3 pizzas and a bowl of ice cream and still have calories to spare.
Oh my goodness. But Ada's trying to join in here. She's not happy.
Man, I wish I had that problem of having to try to eat enough.
Right.
Now, and before we get too far along, I was going to ask, isn't there a charity component involved in this as well?
Yes, there is. So this was where the idea really sort of came to life, is because it was like, right, it's a great idea. But like, what's the point in doing it? So yeah, I decided to do it for cardiac risk in the young, which are a really good charity over here, and they basically they set up and they do screening and research into undiagnosed heart conditions.
Oh, okay.
Because it can be found in young people between ages of 14 and 34, and they can have a heart condition that's completely undiagnosed, no symptoms whatsoever, and unfortunately they just suddenly drop dead.
Okay.
And it can be really awful. There was we've got a competition in football over here going on called the Euros at the moment, and there was a player, I think he's from Denmark, but he about, I think it was about 20 minutes into the game, just dropped on the field.
Wow.
And fortunately he recovered, and they got him to hospital, and he's fine, but that was a cardiac problem. And it's really strange because it doesn't really matter how fit people seem to be.
Yeah.
It can really affect them. Unfortunately, we lost my older sister, and she was 16 at the time, but she played hockey and netball. That's the mix, apparently, hotball.
Okay.
So yeah, she played netball and hockey to a really high standard, and was always used to run track and things. And yeah, unfortunately, she had a heart condition that we didn't know about, no symptoms whatsoever.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
So do you, because of that, do you get screened annually? How does?
Yes, so I don't get screened annually, so I have been screened, and they believe it's hereditary.
Yeah.
And they've looked into cases in my family, and they believe it's only the women that are affected in my family.
Interesting.
They've had a look into that, and it's and how I know that I don't specifically know, but it's all through the screening that they do, and they work a lot with schools over here. So they'll go into schools and they'll screen an entire year of the school, and figure out, and they can give pacemakers. I know that there was a girl in a school near me, and she was screened, and they found that she had something, and they did an operation. She had a pacemaker put on her heart, and I think she had to keep it for about 2 years, and then it got removed, and she was absolutely fine.
Wow.
And yeah.
Yeah, and we have seen that here too.
Yeah.
Athletes, football is our, American football, and then some in basketball too. That
Yeah.
younger kids that are, you would think, in perfect health because they're so athletic, and then it's unfortunate they have this underlying condition. So we're definitely express our sorrow for your family's loss, for
Yeah.
sure. But I think it's really great that you're stepping up and doing this. And the reality is just so many people don't know about it. So the awareness is a good component as well.
Yeah, I think massively, and that's the thing is, but when it's someone that of that age that's so young, it affects so many people around them. Because
Right.
like if it affects someone who's sort of under the age of 18, they've probably got brothers and sisters, and it affects their family and all their school friends. I know, like, my sister's friends, like, for them it was horrendous, because
Right.
they had a friend who was there one day, and then the next
Yeah.
day they turned up to school and they're like, hold on, where's Sarah? Why is she not in school today?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's horrific.
And how old were you when you lost your sister?
So I was 11 at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, so 5 years younger than her.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
we appreciate you sharing that with us. I know that's it's very personal, but thanks for sharing. I think it makes a big difference to get that message out, that it can be devastating. It is devastating to the families it happens to, but then, like you said, at that age it affects people around them, and then if they're young, it's like a lifelong thing that they have to deal with. So,
And the fact that they're so young, you just don't know at any age what's going to happen. Anything can creep up. But the fact that they're younger and this happens, doesn't mean it's not gonna.
and they're screening. That's the other thing. Is
Right.
some of, I don't know how preventable, but if people were more aware of it, get the screening, probably could avoid a lot of the unnecessary deaths as well.
Yeah, a lot of it can be avoided through things like pacemakers and things like that. And if they do find them early enough, and I don't even think they have to find them super early. I think as long as it's found,
Yeah,
that's all they need, and then they can actively work against it.
Well, so let's get back to so you what made you make this decision to be the healthy drummer? I mean, because that, like we said, it's very contrarian. Did you just just, I guess, feeling bad, or you just saw the path that you were on, eating the fast food on the way home from the gigs at night, just a bad path to be going down?
Yeah, it was a case of, so I'm asthmatic, and I've always had like fairly bad asthma, but it's not terrible. But I remember doing a couple of gigs where I had to carry the kit in, and sort of like carry half the kit in, and then almost be having an asthma attack taking it in, and just being like, this is terrible. But on the scale of things, my asthma is not bad. You can have way worse asthma. And I just remember thinking at this one gig, I think we had to carry it up a flight of stairs to get to the stage. And I carried about 2 pieces of my drum kit up, and it wasn't even the heaviest bit. And I got to the top, and I was sweating, and I was like heaving, and I couldn't breathe. And I was like, I think this might be a problem. If I want to carry on doing this, I can't keep up this lifestyle.
Right.
And so the idea was like, right, okay, well, let's start doing a little bit of running. So this was back in early 2018. It must have been about the February. So started doing a little bit of running. Wasn't very good. Didn't really enjoy it, but sort of kept going. And then I mentioned to my girlfriend at the time, I was like, oh, I think I might train for a marathon. I think it was just a really off the cuff sort of said it, didn't really mean it. And I think about 10 minutes later, she went, oh, there's one in 6 weeks. I've signed you up. Like,
yeah.
Her.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. That's the second time now you've got yourself in trouble. You're gonna have to start filtering a little better.
Yeah, I know. I should just keep my mouth shut. But yeah, so I went and did that marathon, and hated it. But what I remember mainly from that marathon is I ran the first 16 miles, and then basically fell off a cliff. Just felt horrendous. Walked, had my head in the sand. Like, just did not want to be there at all. And then I got to the end, and then about 200 meters from the end, all the crowd's going, and I was like sprinting. I was absolute full out as fast as I could run. I don't think I'd ever run that fast before in my life. And finished the race, and then felt horrendous again. But something in me then when I did that was like, hold on, like an hour ago, I wanted to quit, give up, and I felt awful, and I thought I couldn't even run. 10 seconds ago, I was sprinting full pelt. What's going on? And then I sort of realized that actually a lot of it is mental.
Right.
So it was like, oh, okay. And then all my training just sort of went straight off after that marathon. There was nothing really to look forward to, and it was kind of like right back to work, and it started going back the other way again. And I was like, oh no, this isn't good. I need to sign up for something. And my dad had started doing Ironman, because I realized something about we're a bit just stupid. We just say we're going to do things and then end up doing them. So that year, my dad signed up to do an Ironman, and he just spoke to me one day. I think he spoke to me and my brother, and he was like, oh, I've signed up to do an Ironman. And we were like, okay, do you know what it is? And he was like, yeah, it's like a triathlon. And we were like, it's a really hard triathlon. And he was like, yeah, it's fine. And we were like, Dad, you can't even run. And he was like, yeah, it'll be fine. Because he had, when he signed up, he had an issue with his knee where he'd injured it like a couple of years before, and hadn't been able to run at all. And was really struggling, but somehow he fixed it, got himself through it, and he's done like 4 now.
Oh wow! Oh my
goodness! He's mental. So yeah. Because my training was completely in a slump, and I was like, right, I need something to look forward to. I was like, okay, well, Ironman it is. So I decided to sign up and do one. So then in 2019, I did an Ironman, which was really good. And 2019 for me, music wise, was probably the year that where it really took off quite well. So I was doing a lot more around the UK, traveling a lot further. We were sort of breaking into like north and south of England, which is much more populated areas than Wales. So we're doing a lot better. But then the journeys there are getting up to sort of, we're traveling sort of 8 hours to places. So
let me just say for the record back what you said, that there is no easy Ironman or triathlon. That's so yeah, when that person asked, I don't know if it was you or your dad, but it's like that question, like, yeah. There is no, yeah, this is going to be an easy one here.
So it's a little bit different to the local one that's done down the leisure centre though. It's like 10 laps of the pool and a quick jog around the block. But yeah. So like my work got massively increased, so I didn't really have much time to train. So I ended up sort of scraping through the Ironman and completing. And I sort of did it, but I wasn't very happy with my time because the training was not wonderful. So I entered again for 2020, and that's when I really started with fitness. So I had a couple of mates at the time, and I was like, right, I know this mate swims a lot, so he's really good at that. I'm going to start swimming with him, and my other mate runs a lot, so I'm going to start running with him. And I really sort of like changed a lot of my focus to go fully into the fitness. And my idea was that if I could do Ironman in under 12 hours, I'd be really happy. So I was head like straight into that as much as I could. And then that's when lockdown happened. So that's when the sort of idea of like, right, well, now I've got a big opportunity. Like at the time I thought, right, I've got 4 to 6 weeks now where I can go mad training. And then, but lockdown just carried on forever and ever and ever. So that second Ironman I still haven't done. I'm fingers crossed, should be doing it this September, but awesome. Who knows? Yeah. But that sort of leads us to where we are now, because that's when that conversation happened about running with the drum kit. And then it was like, right, well, yeah, let's do that. And it all got a bit mental because I thought it was a great idea. And I sort of looked into it a bit and figured out and thought, yeah, I think I can do this. So I made a video saying that I was going to do it and put it on Facebook. And that was the point where I could not go back, because that video got about 5,000 views in a day from everyone I knew. And people were donating money, and I hadn't even set up the donation page. I had people just sending me money. I raised like £200 in like a day, and I was like, wait, hold on, I've got to do this now. I was like, there's no undo button for this. I am well and truly in. So then it was a scramble to set up like a donation page. And that was it. Once I put that video out, it was like, okay, I am fully committed. And then it was just trying to figure out a date. And the idea at the time, I was like, okay, well, I definitely need to do it next year, so 2021, because I don't think, if it was just running 100 miles, I said just running 100 miles, that's a silly thing to say, but if I was only running 100 miles without towing the drum kit, I probably could have done it towards the end of last year. But with towing the drum kit, it was like, right, no, that's probably, I've probably bitten off more than I can chew here. So I'm going to make sure this takes a long time until I have to do it. So yeah, the idea was to do it in August this year. And then as things started lining up, we were looking at dates, and like the weekend of the 24th of July just was like the perfect weekend. It's like, right, okay, let's book it in and go for it. And then I had to figure out how to tow the trailer, and I had to get a trailer made and all of that. And that was great fun and a bit mad, because I was phoning up companies who sell trailers and be like, do you have any that are built for running? And they're like, no, we don't. Not really. It's not really a thing. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, especially even if you get one like people run, when they have kids and stuff, it's smaller. I mean, it's the other challenge is getting something big enough to hold a whole drum kit.
That was the thing. So that was, I got offers from people of saying like, oh well, I've got like a baby running thing, and I was like, okay, and like, I'd look at it and I'd be like, yeah. I was like, by any chance did you have triplets, because that would be really helpful. But unfortunately they didn't. So yeah, I couldn't use it. But yeah, that's the problem, because the drum kit is annoyingly shaped and really bulky, and even with packing it down to the smallest I can possibly get it, I still have to have it on like a flatbed trailer, which itself is really heavy and cumbersome and annoying. And I have sworn at it multiple times.
Well, and you brought up a good point. Because when we first started talking, I was thinking about, it's going to be the challenges getting up the hill, but I never actually thought about, once you start down the hill, that that trailer's going to want to try to run over you if you don't have a pretty good braking system in place.
Yeah, the trailer is coming for my head on the way down. It is.
Yeah, it'd be like a cartoon, just flatten you right out. I mean, I think about Frankie, one of our dogs, dragging us down a hill that we have on the side of the house where we take him outside. And I mean, she is strong, and she pulls me down that. I can't even, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine that part of it. But that is something that you posted on Facebook, and just accountability really can be such a factor.
Yeah, peer pressure is the worst, isn't it?
It is. It really is. That, and the mindset, and then all the support that you have from your community, your friends, your family, all of that is awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's been massive, because alongside everyone watching and donating, I also just got like hundreds of messages from people being like, oh, I can help with this and I can do this, and I'm still getting them today. I got a message like, I think yesterday, from my mate Connor, and he was like, oh, do you need anyone to do any like filming or anything, because like I've got a camera and I can do this. And I'm like, oh yeah, actually that's great. And people are just so helpful. It is amazing.
So how is the challenge, and I think that's awesome that you put it out there, because that's what they always say is, if you have goals in your mind, it's one thing, but once you speak them to somebody else, that, you become accountable. But the other part of this is that the difficulty, even if you want to do this, the difficulty of your situation of being around, the things that aren't as healthy for you to consume. And then I'm sure your bandmates are like, hey, why don't you come out, come have a drink with us? Or I don't know what, y'all's favorite junk food is, but over here be like, hey, we need to go get some nachos and beer after this gig. And, how do you handle that? And how supportive are they of you and your efforts? Not necessarily for the challenge, but just for the daily being healthy.
Actually incredibly supportive, because I think a lot of it actually with the eating and being bad, because we don't necessarily get the situation that often where we all stay around and have like a beer after a gig. Unfortunately, because it's so much traveling, it's always like, oh, I would, but I've got to drive. So and it's like you can't. You never really get the situation where you can stay afterwards. But the problem is mainly just actually myself and overcoming the big shiny M by the side of the motorway and drive through and ordering enough food to feed a family of 4.
It's like a magnet, especially when, and I'm the worst, so I can attest to that, is driving. I just feel like I always have to have something to eat or drink, and it's like hard to go by the drive-through without popping in and getting something. So I mean, that's a challenge.
It's just boring, isn't it? So
what have you done anything to help yourself to drive past it without making that exit?
Try take a different route.
Really? That's what you need to do.
Hope they close and the ice cream machine doesn't work. I mean, the one thing that's massively been is that I haven't actually been able to work because of COVID.
Yeah.
So I've not been going to the gigs. A lot of my work has been, I've been doing much more teaching and things like that, which is from home and over Skype and things like this. So it's been lots of online. So I've actually been making my own food.
Yeah.
And when you're training a lot, the food you eat and how you feel makes a massive difference. Because I'm sure you know, when you go to McDonald's and you eat loads and then you get up the next morning and you feel horrendous.
Right. Yeah.
But it's even worse when you do that and then you've got to run 20 miles the next day.
Exactly.
Because then you feel like doubly horrendous. So
Right.
you quite quickly get into the headspace of like, oh, actually, yeah, I need to sort of do this right. And I think even before I did all the fitness stuff, I don't think it was necessarily my bandmates who were a bad influence. I think especially the way we do things, we're not so much the rock and roll lifestyle musicians. We're very much the sort of quiet, go in, get the job done, like have a chat with people and then come home and sit with your feet up and get as early night as you can. So I haven't really had massive bad influences, which is quite good, other than my own sort of bad influence of just genuinely not being able to beat my cravings.
Yeah, see, I think we all think about, in the 60s and 70s, well, 60s, 70s, 80s, and just our music, the rock and roll and all, we just think of that lifestyle. They're all out there drinking at all hours. I have all these dates,
Yeah.
and all of that stuff. So it's very refreshing to see that.
I wish I could think of this group that I was listening. I saw an interview or was listening to one with the group, and they were kind of like you. It's kind of like their 9 to 5, just in a different time slot. But they were like, they became big in popularity, and they were opening for some other bigger groups, and the other groups were like, "Hey, come on, we're gonna go, party and do this." And they're like, "And we're, it's time for us to go home." And so they were that way as well. They just like, we never really got into the life. We just, we did our gig and then we went home and left that to everybody else.
I think some of it comes with, it depends how big the band gets. If you get a lot of money and you're doing really well out of it, I think that lends itself to it as well.
Right.
But sometimes it's like I've, especially early on, and I think that's probably where it's set, because early on I was doing gigs where I would barely make any money, but I was just doing lots and lots and lots of them.
Right.
So you're sort of thinking, you go like, oh yeah, well I could have like a couple of beers afterwards with some of the crowd. But suddenly if you spend £20 on beer afterwards, and then you take in your fuel and then you eat a big McDonald's, suddenly you've spent your entire paycheck and you're like, I don't have any money. So I think that was it. I think when I first started, I probably for like the first 2 months, I was like terrible, had no money. And then I was like, oh, I can't get to this gig because I can't put any fuel in my car. Okay, I should sort this out.
You learned quick. I mean, it takes some people a lifetime to figure that out.
Yeah, and also just where I live sort of lends itself, because I play so when I play in Cardiff, I've got one band where 3 of the members live in Cardiff, so they can like walk to the gig. So it takes them like 10 minutes to get there. So they can have a drink and things and walk home, and it's really easy for them. And a lot of their friends are around there. Whereas for me, it's always that situation of like, right, so if we finish at sort of like 11 o'clock, we've then got 45 minutes to pack down and get out. We have a 15-minute chat, say goodbye, and then I get home, and then I've got to drive, and I still got a 2-hour drive, so I don't get home till 2 in the morning. So it's still so then if I stay around for drinks and food, then it's like suddenly like I'm getting home at like 4 in the morning. And so and especially if it's on a Sunday, I want to get back to watch some football. So.
Yeah. Priorities.
On the actual running part, have you just done all of this on your own, or have you been working with the trainer to kind of help get you up to, even prior to the trailer pool thing? Were you working with somebody?
So before the trailer pool, the only thing I was working with is I was working with a swimming coach. Okay. Because for me, swimming is one of my strong suits. I swam from very early on, from I think probably about age 6. I think I started swimming. And always quite enjoyed it. So I was working with a swimming coach quite a lot. But as far as running and cycling goes, not really. There's a really good community down here because, so I live in Pembrokeshire and there's a place called Tenby here, and that is where one of the Ironmen takes place. So there is an Ironman in Tenby, which is about 30 minutes from me. So there's a massive community of triathletes down here.
Oh,
so
cool.
a lot of it is we all just sort of like keep like borrowing each other's training plans and talk to each other. So mainly everything I've learned is through that. And then for the run, all of my training I've done myself. And I have a good friend who's a physio. And I pretty much text him every other day, like, this hurts, what should I do? And he'll text me back and he'll be like, it's fine, it's meant to hurt, just get over it.
Rub some dirt in it. That's what we do.
The other thing I was noticing, looks like you have a 49ers hat and jacket. So are you a big American football fan?
Yeah, I'm a huge 49ers fan. Okay. I'm obsessed. And so when they do like the international games over here, I've got a season ticket. So yeah, I've seen many teams over here and I watch every game live. Absolutely love it.
Very good. Good. Well, we would be remiss if we didn't ask you a couple questions about who some of your favorite drummers are.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So all-time favorite drummer is Jeff Porcaro from Toto, because he's insane and he's played on so much stuff, from like Steely Dan stuff, and yeah, he's just a bit of a beast. Big fan of Dom from Muse. So he's because Muse are from Devon, which is not too far from here. Okay. And it's like, well, actually, as the crow flies, it's really close. It's like 40-50 miles, but just over the water. So they're a massive modern UK band that are really good. And then I play in a tribute band for those. So I've had to really commit a lot of time to learning all of his parts and playing them very accurately. So I have a massive appreciation for him. Yeah, he's amazing. And then I've got to narrow people down. That's really hard. Yeah, there's a drummer called Danny Carey from the band Tool. And they're just like all over the place, really complex rhythms and things like that. They do horrible odd time signatures and stuff, and it's very complex and rhythmic, and a lot of it's like it's the way I describe the music is it's like spiraling, which is it's really weird, but it's very sort of like psychedelic, and yeah, I love that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I remember when I guess when the multi-track or 8 tracks or whatever came out, that's when everybody would be like, all the sound in one speaker, and then it would be moving. And then if they were really good, they could just make it swirl around the whole car like that. yeah,
they do that. It's like the Queen thing on Bohemian Rhapsody, where they bounce the vocal like left and right, and then it's the middle. Like, yeah, it's amazing.
Oh. Well, Bob, we appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk with us. It's an awesome story. I think it's a great cause that you're working toward, and we need to follow up. So we're going to get you on our calendar. We'll give you a day or two to, probably rest up from that, but maybe
a little longer.
maybe in August we can get you back on, and you can give us a report of how it went, and of course. I'm sure that there are going to be videographers there taking pictures and videos. So please send us all that stuff so we can not only post it, but we really want to keep up with you and see how this goes.
Yes, we'll do. That's amazing. Thank you very much.
Good luck. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Sending positive vibes to you. We'll live vicariously through you.
Exactly. So what is a tool or a habit, something that you do every day that really adds a lot of value to your life?
Oh, that is a very good one. I think for me, it's probably sort of taking time to do something that I really enjoy. So often it's usually very much around music. So for me, it's not just drums, because I play a bit of guitar and piano. So every day I try to sort of dedicate a little bit of time, just even if it's like 10 minutes, to just go and like, right, this I'm just going to focus on this and just really enjoy it and not worry about anything else. And it's sort of just, I guess it's kind of a bit of a meditation thing. But I find it helps with things like procrastination, because I find a lot of the time when you're doing something like hard with work or something, and you're just thinking like, oh my God, could be doing this other thing and I want to be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But if just early on in the day, early in the morning, before you go off to work, you just do something that you really enjoy, you sort of just get it out of yourself a little bit so that you can go like, I've done something that I've really enjoyed today and now I'm going to go focus.
Cool. Yeah, that's
that's
good
really
advice.
good.
Yeah, we need to get out and do that. We need to, sometimes we forget to stop and have some enjoyment out of our day. So that's awesome. Yeah, I just got to thinking, we just our concerts just got opened back up here this year, and we our first one that's coming to town that we're going to see is Clapton is coming.
Yep.
So we're excited about that.
Oh, cool. Oh, so when's that?
It's September.
Mid-September, and I've
Oh,
got
that would
tickets
be-
for Andrea
that would be really good.
Bocelli too.
That would
Yeah.
be really good.
The other
I
one is
was
at
meant
the
to be
small venue.
Go ahead.
right. Oh, that would be cool. I was meant to see Joe Bonamassa recently, but that got cancelled, unfortunately. I'm really hoping it's going to be put back on soon.
I know. I'm so ready to do it. Just I
I
need
know.
to be in a live music format. I just do.
And that's why you were, that's another reason that we were so interested in talking to you, because music is a big part of both of our lives. And, since, right up until the pandemic, we probably went to, a concert every month or so. Maybe not, a lot of ours are the old guys that, they
Al Green,
Yeah.
The Temptations.
we're trying to see them before they all pass away. But
Isn't that terrible?
You got to get it. Otherwise, you've got to see a tribute. So.
Yeah, we even had tickets to the Rolling Stones, and I've never seen them before. They were supposed to come a year ago in May.
Yeah.
And they still haven't announced anything, unless you know some inside scoop we don't. But
Not that I know. Unfortunately, just being British doesn't mean you get to know them.
Right. Come on.
What a shame. It would be such a great privilege if it was.
Right.
Yeah. And the other one of our last ones we went to were I don't know if you've heard of the Stone Temple Pilots, Eric.
Oh yeah.
Eric Kretz.
Eric Kretz. Yep.
Amazing drummer. If you haven't ever check him out. Really good.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know a little bit of their stuff, and not in depth, but yeah, I've heard some good stuff.
All right. Well, we could talk music for the next couple hours, but we need to let you go. Thank you. We're so gracious for the time you've given us, and like I said, really keep up. We want to see how, even if you want to send us some training stuff as you're working through some pictures of the trailer, and just anything you want to send us, do, and we'll be sure and get it out there for you.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant. Will do. Thank you very much.
Okay, you bet. All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Feeding Fatty. I'm your host, Roy.
I'm Terry. Bob, thank you so much.
Of course, you can find us at www.feedingfatty.com. We're on all the major podcast platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Spotify. If we're not on one that you listen to, reach out. We'd be glad to get it added. You can also find us on all the major social media platforms. Typically, probably Instagram is where we hang out a little bit more. A video of this interview will go up when the episode goes live. So until next time, take care of yourself and take care of your health.